Guys, and welcome back to Mobility Fit with me, Jackie. Today we are going to be working on your glutes and hamstrings, so the derriere and the back of your thighs here. So we're going to go straight into it. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the stuff that you're going to need today, because today we're using actually a couple of bits and pieces of equipment or things that might be available to you. So first thing, I'm going to use some blocks. I'm going to use 2 of them, like yoga blocks. You could use some books or just something that you can kind of prop your weight through that are of a sort of decent kind of height. So if you've got like some small little step things or something like that, you can push your body weight through of a decent height. So you need 2 of those. You will also need, I've got a strap here. This is an actual yoga strap, but you could use a band, you could use a towel, just something that we can use to pull your foot closer towards your body. So you need one of those. If you have sensitive knees, like I sometimes do, because I'm a little bit bony, you could use a towel. I have just got one of our throws off our sofa, just in case you want to cushion any sort of bony joints so that it's not pressing too much against you on the mat. And the final thing, which I forgot to put in my little collection, is you need a ball of some sort. I will demonstrate what I mean. Bear with. So this is one of those sort of physio myofascial balls that are a bit rubbery that is used for releasing tight muscles and tension within the body and the tissues. So you can use one of these ones if you've actually got one. People sometimes use a lacrosse ball, sometimes a hockey ball. I would say a cricket ball, worst case, could work, but a cricket ball is probably a little bit too hard and it has a really shiny surface, so you're going to slip off it quite easily. So if you've got something that has a little bit more of a rubbery texture, that might be a little bit better. You could also use a golf ball if you are a golfer. Again, bit of a shiny surface, but it's smaller, so it might not slip as much. So that would be suitable. Realistically, you could actually use an avocado pip too. So any of those things would be suitable, just because it's the first exercise we're going to do, and we're going to get into that glute region. And that is your list of kit for today. All right, let's get going. So, as I said, we're going to start off with doing some myofascial release, which basically just means that we're getting into the tissues and trying to kind of separate them a little bit more and release the tension that is in your muscles, in particular your glutes. In fact, I'm thinking on the spot here, you could use the ball, but if you also have a foam roller, that would also be suitable too. So foam roller, I will grab mine. Bear with. My little collection of things. So you could also use a foam roller. So if you don't have a ball, but you do have a foam roller, maybe go with that option. I would not go, if you happen to have one of those demon, and I say demon, rollers that are just spikes all the way around, maybe not use that one, because that might be a little bit painful and you may end up with some bruises. So not that one. One of these ones that's a little bit softer, or again, ball. Okay, I'll show you both options. Right, we can start. So first thing that you're going to do is you're going to get yourself into a lying position. So just to clarify, we are working on the glute region. So you're looking at placing any of this, be it a roller or be it a ball, round about this sort of region here. So these are your glute muscles, which is what everyone knows as in the bum. You've got 3 muscles. You've got your glute max, your glute medius, and your glute minimus. We're going to try and get to glute med, glute min, ideally. Glute max doesn't tend to be that much of an issue, whereas glute min and glute med can get very tight and can cause a little bit of restriction, which can then make its way further up and have a knock-on with your back being tight too. So we'll start with a ball, and I'll show you that variation, and then we'll have a look at using the roller if you've got that one too. So taking your ball, you're going to bring yourself down into a lying position. So a little bit as if you were going to do like a clam workout. And what you're going to do from this position is you're then going to place this ball just underneath and to the side of your hips. So you're going to place that on there. In fact, I would actually sit up to do this because it's not that comfortable. And then when you find that spot, you're just going to sit on it. And it's not very comfortable. It's not very nice. It's a little bit painful if your glutes are tight like mine. And then what I suggest you do is actually, if you bring your, in this case, if you've got your right leg down and you've got your left leg on top, bring your left leg up, which means that you can then use that to sort of work round in circles in that area. Now, obviously, it's very difficult to direct you as to where you need to be with this, but if you hit anything that is really hard and bony, that's a bone. The hint is in the description there. So don't sit on something that feels like a bone. You want to move away from the harder stuff and work with more of the spongy things that you feel like that ball can work into, which is your muscles and the surrounding tissues. So from there, you're just going to come in circles a little bit. Like I said, it's not comfortable. It is a little bit painful. You can also work with rotations as well. So you could face slightly more down towards the floor and then rotate using the hips. So you're moving those hips up towards the ceiling a little bit more. Turn them down and around. And we're just going to finish off with basically what I then want you to do is I want you to come up and just sit on it a little bit. So I've got the side of my glutes now pinned down with this ball, and it's letting me know that it is there, that is for sure. So just holding that there for a few more moments. So what our plan for today is, we're going to release a little bit of tension, hopefully, that might be in your glutes, and then we're going to go into more sort of stretching based exercises for your glutes and for your hamstrings also. Okay, and then easing yourself off the ball. Now, you can obviously do the same thing on the other side if you have one of these balls. But what I will do for those of you who have got rollers, I will show you on the other side how to do this with a roller. But if you were using a ball, just roll over onto your left-hand side and you're going to do exactly the same thing. So with a roller, you are going to make sure you get it in the right position. So you're going to start on the roller and then you're going to slip off to the side slightly. Now the roller is not going to get in as much as the ball would do, because obviously the ball is a much smaller surface area, which means that it can go a little bit deeper into the muscles and really work in there centrally, whereas this is obviously a band, so it's a little bit thicker, so it's not going to be able to get right into those muscles. So we're kind of working from the outside. So if you've got both, there's nothing to say that you couldn't use do a bit with one and then use the other. So you're looking to find where that sweet spot is again. So you're just basically rolling. Ooh, I found it. I can clarify that I found it. So you're just looking at that sort of side portion there of your pelvis, which is where your glutes attach to. If you go down too low, down here, you're probably going to hit the top of your femur, which is your long bone here. So that's not going to be very comfortable. If you come too much to the side, you're going to hit where your pelvic bone is, the ones that stick out at the front. That's also going to be uncomfortable. And if you go too much to the top, behind you, around here, you're going to hit your sacrum, which is the back of your pelvis. And that's another bone, so that will also be painful. So really, you're trying to stick to this section here on the side of your glutes. So come back to that position that we were in. Again, your opposite leg is coming on top, and that is the one that's going to allow you to move back and forth. Now, obviously with a roller, you're limited in the movement and the range of where you're going. So you're going to start with just backwards and forwards. And then when you find a sweet spot, like I have done now, I then want you to actually kind of rock from side to side. So you're never going to be able to create the circular motion that you have with the ball, but you are definitely going to be able to get into a little bit of that tight spot with the roller. And then once you've managed to do that, you're looking at doing these for probably like 1 to 2 minutes maximum, because yeah, why would you want to do this any longer? It's not like it's pleasant. I'm sorry. And then slowly bring yourself off, okay? So those are your two options. You've either got ball or foam roller, either one, or both, if you're like me and you've got all of this random bits of equipment. Right, let's move this out of the way. So hopefully that now feels like they're a little bit looser, fingers crossed. So now we're going to go over onto starting off with your hamstrings. So what I would like you to do is, if you can grab hold of your resistance band, your strap, your towel, whatever it is that you're using, because we're now going to use that. So we're going to now come onto our back. So making sure that you are nice and comfortable. I'm just going to move my cord out of the way. There we go. So lying onto your back, now what you want to make sure here is that you are keeping your your foot that is not up in the air is going to be down on the floor. You sometimes see people doing a hamstring stretch like this. I ideally would actually like you to keep both of your feet straight. You also want to flex your feet too. So rather than having them relax nice and comfortably here, as if you're having a little nap, you're going to pull your toes up towards your shin. Okay, so to start this position, I want you to put the strap around your right leg. God, this is such a long strap. Right leg, flexing both of the feet and then bringing your leg up. Now you want to try and get your leg as straight as you can. If it doesn't come all the way up to 90 degrees, do not stress about it. It's not a problem. We're just working with the range that you can do at the moment. So from here, you're just going to hold it at wherever you can start to feel that stretch. So you can use this strap, towel, whatever it is that you're using, just so you can start to feel that stretch through that hamstring on the back of your leg there. Making sure that your right foot, is still bent, flexed, that's the word, and that your left foot is also flexed too. And we're just going to hold that there for a moment. You may also, when this is straight, you might also get a little bit of a stretch through your calves, through the back of your lower leg, and that is also fine. If you release and bend the leg slightly and come in, you'll feel a little bit more of a stretch up towards your groin region, but it means that it'll take the stretch off on your calf. So whichever one is best for you. I personally prefer this one just because I feel like I can get it all the way down the back of my leg, which I personally quite like. So you're going to hold that there, and then we're going to do a little bit of work with the breath. So what I want you to do is take a deep breath in for me, and then as you exhale, try and bring that leg a little bit closer to you. So it might mean that you're walking your hands up a little bit further up that strap. Again, that foot stays flexed, that left one should also ideally be staying flexed too. And then just holding that there and just relaxing into that movement. And then one more time we're going to do the same thing, so take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, come one more time, a little bit closer. So we should now roughly be at your sort of end point for this movement. So you should really get to the point where, realistically, it's not coming any closer to you. And then from here, we're going to slowly lower this down. So don't whack it straight back down or let it drop. Lower it nice and gently back down to the floor. So obviously we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So swap over, put the strap around your left foot, flex both the feet, lift it up, and then come to a position where you can hold that strap comfortably. And just again, breathing, making sure both the feet are flexed, making sure that your pelvis is down. If you start arching and coming up through the back, it means that you need to drop that leg down a little bit further. So making sure that lower back is against the mat. And then just holding that there. And again, you might also have differences in terms of how far your legs can go. I believe my right leg has slightly greater range than my left. You guys can be the judge of that. And then take a deep breath in. And then exhaling, bringing it a little bit closer towards you. Again, like I said, if you can't get to 90 degrees, do not feel like that is where you need to be. Everyone has got their own markers as to what they're able to do. So just work within your range. Don't try and be a flexible, I don't know, gymnast if you're not one. I mean, trust me, I've got friends that can bring their foot to here. Of course I would want to be one of those people, but I'm not. So take a deep breath in. And then exhaling again, allow that leg to come a little bit further back. So now you're probably at that sort of end range again, where you can't really go any further than where you're at the moment. So just hold that there. Again, making sure both feet are flexed. And just hold it there. And then slowly lowering it back down, like we just did with the other one. And then bringing yourself up to a seated position. Cool. So that is first one done. Now, if you don't want to do the lying one and you would rather do it from a standing position, then bear with and I will show you what that would look like in a standing position. So, standing hamstring stretch. So same thing if you've got a sensitive back or for some reason you don't fancy lying on the floor, there is a standing variation of this one. So what you can do is you want to use a chair or just something that you can prop your leg on, little bench, box, whatever it works. Bring your right leg up. You're gonna probably have lengthened it so that it's slightly further away. So you want to draw that hip back. So pull your right leg back so your hips are now parallel and square. Flex your foot, and then from there you're gonna reach down towards your toes or your ankle, wherever is comfortable for you, making sure that you're not rounding through the back or going into any funny positions, just keeping that nice and flat and working within your range. We're going to hold that for 5 to 6 breaths. Then once you've done with that, you're going to swap over onto the other side. So literally same thing on the left hand side. Flex those toes up so you're bringing your toes up towards your shin. Make sure that you've squared out your hips and then reaching down towards your ankle. If you end up only getting towards your knee or just about touching your shins, that is absolutely fine. If you are really straining to get down there, just work within your range so that you can feel that stretch through your hamstrings. And then obviously when you're done, come back up to stand. So continuing on with that from hamstrings, we're going to move on to something that in yoga, I believe, please don't quote me on this, it's called a half Hanuman. And this is another good one for your hamstrings. It's also quite a good progression for someone who's working towards doing the splits as well. I used to do this for quite a lot of my practice. So you will need the 2 blocks or the 2 books, or like I said, just something that you can push into and use your body weight and also hold you up slightly. If you're quite bendy, then maybe you don't need them, we'll see. So taking your blocks, we're going to come onto our side. So what you want to do is, and also again for here, if this is uncomfortable on your knees, you can either double your mat up so that it's a little bit cushiony underneath there, or if you prefer, you could then bring in something that's a little bit more well cushioned to protect your knee joint. Up to you, whatever works for you. So we're going to start from the middle. We'll start with the right leg so that you can see. So you're going to take your right leg out in front of you. From here, again, flexing the toes up. So it's a very similar to position as to what we were in when we just did the chair one. Then the blocks are basically here to just help you with your balance. So making sure from there that you've got your knees underneath your hip on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side you're going to draw that leg back so that again our hips are now even, and then from that position you're going to walk yourself forward. Now the reason why the blocks are quite useful is because you can have them one way, or if you've got decent range you can go a little bit lower down, but as we can see we're leaning forward, bringing our chest forward in this direction. So again, we're not arching through the back this way, we're leaning and looking forward, and we've got a lower bit here. I was saying that if you're quite flexible, you won't need them, because if you have got a decent range, you can just use your hands. But I can't do that for a very long period of time, so I'm going to go back to the blocks. So we're just going to keep holding that there. Again, focusing on looking forward. If you look down towards your toes, sometimes I feel like that pulls you down and that actually gives you more of a negative impact on your spine. So one more breath here. And then bending forward, putting your hands down in front of you, and then we're going to step that leg back, so you're back on all fours again. Somehow my mat has got dirty in the space of a few minutes. Then you're going to bring your left leg forward, so bringing that left leg forward, and then again coming up onto the block, making sure that your knees and hips are stacked on top of each other. Mat can go underneath if it needs to for cushioning and protection. Flexing your left toes so they come up towards you, and the blocks are underneath your shoulders. Pull your left leg back so that you're now nice and parallel in the hips, and then again starting to walk yourself forward, leaning forward. I can definitely feel that this side is much tighter than the other side. Clearly a little bit broken on one side. And then again, if you've got that range and you are using blocks or a book that you can easily turn over, you can obviously take that a little bit further down or go to the floor if you've got the ability to do so. But throughout the whole time, you're making sure that this leg stays back, you're making sure that these toes are flexed and that you're coming down. You want a little bit of a bend in the knee, so you're not completely locking that joint out. There's a tiny little bend, but it is only small. And then just focusing on looking forward and relaxing into this position. One more breath here. And then coming forwards, popping the hands down in front, and then dragging that foot back. Okay? All right. Keeping with the hamstrings, we're then going to go into some seated stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into a position where we're going to do one leg at a time to start with. So if you keep your right leg out, draw your left leg in up towards you. So you want to place your foot on the inside of your thigh, just above where your knee joint is. So you've got kind of a triangle on one side and then your leg is straight on the other side. From here, you're then going to walk yourself down. Again, this is all about making sure that we're not arching through this way and that we're keeping nice and straight. You can use your hands to hook underneath your calves if that is possible and feasible for you, and then reaching down from there. And again, you want to think about your nose kind of touching towards your toes rather than your head coming down to here, because that tends to mean that you end up rounding if you're looking down, whereas if you're looking forward, you kind of keep that nice angle on your spine. So just holding that there. And as I said, and we'll keep saying throughout all of these videos, work within your range. So if your range is literally here or here, fine, no judgment, no problems, just hold it there. If you can go a little bit further, feel free to do so. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some of you out there that can literally bring their chest all the way down, and I wish I was you, but alas, I am not. So I'm going to stay in my range, which is just here. Then once you're done, slowly bringing yourself up, and then we're going to swap over onto the other side. So you're then going to bring your right leg, put that in towards your left leg. So left leg nice and straight, right leg is now bent. Making sure that your hips are nice and even, so you've got even distributed weight throughout. Flexing the toes, and same thing, nice and straight, leaning forward. Hook your hands underneath if you can, or wish to, and then from there, pulling yourself forward. And keeping that nice open sort of position with that back, so we're not arching through there. And just breathe. If you want to use your breath a little bit, you can do. So if you've been hanging around in one position for a little bit, and then you want to try and see if you can go a little bit further. If you inhale, bring your chest up a little bit, and then as you exhale, see if you can get a little bit lower without rounding through the spine. And just hold that there. And then slowly working yourself back up to the top. Then we're going to do double leg, and for this, you can also use a cheeky strap. So get your towel if you wish, or whatever it was you were using before, towel, resistance band, whatever. Equally with this one, because of the position that we're going to be in, we're going to be double leg and then reaching forward. Some people may actually find it more comfortable to sit on a block. So what you can do is you can just pop that underneath your hips, which gives you a little bit more range, puts your hips in a slightly better position for some people, and then from there you might feel a little bit more comfortable reaching down for you. So it's completely up to you. You can sit on a block if you wish to do so. But otherwise, you are going to take that strap around the legs, flexing the feet up towards you. As I may have mentioned in another video, you also want to kind of think about lifting your hips up, sticking your bum out and putting it back down again, because now my sit bones, which is a certain part of your pelvis, are flush flat to the floor and they're both evenly distributed, so I'm not going to have one side pushing more than the other. So make sure you've done that as well. Then grab hold of your strap and straighten yourself up. Flex the feet, and then from there you can start to walk yourself down your strap. Again, I would look forwards or towards your toes rather than looking down at your knees, just to make sure that you're then not in a rounded position. And just hold it there, working with that breath, keeping those feet flexed, pulling it towards you. It is tempting to relax the feet and then you can go further, but try and keep them flexed up towards you, because that will just make sure that you're working the right sort of area. And then one more breath. See if you can go a tiny bit lower. And now slowly bring yourself back up to the top. Equally, if you've got a very good range that I wish I had, and you can quite easily bring yourself into that position, there is no need for you to have a strap or a band. Just take yourself as far as you can do. I would be so jealous. I wish I could do that. Right, then pigeon stretch. So that's a little bit of your hamstrings. We're now going to go into the glute sort of region instead. So what you will need is your block or a rolled up towel. A book might be a little bit uncomfortable possibly. A rolled up towel might also work. A cushion off your sofa or off your bed, that will also work too. So just one of those things, just because we're going to use it to make sure that our hips are nice and even. Okay, so what we're going to do is I would like you to, I'm going to start from a kneeling position because that's a little bit easier rather than going into a proper yoga downward dog. So we will start with the left leg this time. So what I want you to do is bring your left knee up towards your wrist and make sure that your foot is flexed, and then you're now going to start to walk yourself backwards and sit down. Now the block is for those like me who have very tight hips and don't have even pelvises during this. So what you want to do is you're going to pop that block there so you can now sit and your pelvis should be even. You haven't got one side rocking more than the other. Try and make sure that the leg behind you is relatively straight. It's not completely out in the opposite direction. And then we're just going to hold this here. So make sure that you've got your front foot, which in this case would be your left foot, is flexed. And we're just going to hold that there. Now this is definitely going to get up into that glute region and really stretch through there. You might get it through your groin a little bit as well. So again, just work with where is comfortable for you. If you are one of those very mobile, agile people, very flexible, that has got all of the hip mobility, you may also want to try and walk your foot and your shin forward so that it is parallel to the top of the mat. There is no chance that I can do that at all, so I won't be demonstrating that bit, but if you do have that range of movement, feel free to do so now. Otherwise, from there you now want to start to sink yourself down, so you're in this low position here, and if comfortable you can actually put your hands on your forearms and just relax into this movement, into this position. So just holding this here, just taking deep breaths in, inhaling And exhaling, and trying to see if you can get into a little bit more of an open position with this movement, and just hold it there. And one more breath, so inhaling and exhaling, relaxing completely. Okay, from there, start to push yourself up onto your arms, through your hands, and come up to that start position. Tuck your back foot under, and then bring your heel back to meet. So we're going to repeat doing the same thing on the other side. I'm going to turn so you can still see sort of what I'm doing. So we're now moving on to that right leg. So the block's going to move over as well. So back in your all fours position, bringing your right knee up towards your right hand. Bringing your toes as close as possible to your hand of what is comfortable, making sure that they're flexed. Taking your left leg back behind you. Again, if you need to, for your knee, putting something underneath there to cushion it a little bit more if it's a little bit sensitive, that is absolutely fine, feel free to do so. And then if you are like me and have unstable hips, pop that block just underneath so that you can sit on that. And then once you're in that comfortable position, just hold that there for a moment, making sure your foot's flexed. And again, if you have the incredible range, bring your foot so that your shin is now parallel to the mat. Once you're here, then start to walk yourself down to the same position that we're in before. So you're going to drop in, and there might be one side that feels a lot more comfortable than the other. For me, this side is so much more open, and this feels so much easier to stay here. I could actually fall asleep, whereas on the left hand side it's a little bit tighter, and so that was definitely more noticeable. So just relaxing into this pose, making sure that that right foot stays flexed, and just allowing the stretch to do the work. And slowly now bringing yourself back up. So onto those arms, tucking under that leg, and then coming back to all fours. Moving your block out of the way, we're then going to move on to a figure four stretch. So this one is from a lying down position. So what you're going to do is come onto your back. So camera died, but we're back, and now I'm going to get you to lie on your backs. So rolling over onto your back, we're moving into a figure four position. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your right leg, bring it over on top so that your foot and ankle are on top of your left, sort of just above the knee on your left leg. This is the starting position, so if you can already feel a bit of a stretch in your hip and your glute region, then you can leave it there. If you want to intensify that a little bit, you're just going to bring up your left leg and take your hands through and clasp hold of your left leg and then bring it to here. So that's your next stage, and you can hold that there, which is going to feel that stretch through the region of your glutes and hips. Or your final one is pull it in a little bit closer and then use your right elbow to push away at the same time as you're pulling in, and that's just going to open up that hip joint and around the glutes even more. And then you're just going to hold that there for a couple of breaths and just relax into it. Slowly lowering the leg down now, so both feet are now on the floor. So we're going to swap things over. So same thing on the other side. So take your left leg and pop that on top of your right. So now your left ankle and foot are on top of your right thigh. So staying here for the lowest and least intensifying, that's a word, level. Otherwise, if you want to make it a little bit more challenging, lifting, thread through. Again, make sure that your foot is flexed, your left foot should be flexed, and pull up. And then your final variation would be to pull in and push out with your left elbow. And just hold this here. And then bringing the legs down. So, last one, final one today. What we're going to do is we're going to start out nice and long, and all you're going to do is you're going to bring your knees in towards your chest and give yourself basically a little hug around your knees. Now with this, you want to make sure that your lower back isn't off the floor. So if you feel like your lower back has really come off the floor, then I would just drop your legs down a little bit so that they're not super close into your chest, because you'll still get a little bit of a stretch. This is also going to help through your back too. But if you can, bring them up nice and close to your chest and give yourself a little bit of a hug. If you then wish to rock from side to side, just to kind of massage out part of your back, then feel free to do so. But if that's uncomfortable and is putting a bit of pressure on your spine, then just keep nice and still and just working with your breath, trying to relax into this final movement. Then you can add a little bit of movement through the knees, going in circles. Again, only if this is comfortable. If this actually causes pain, then don't do it. And swap around the other way. So opposite direction to the way you were going before. And then relaxing your feet down and bringing yourself up to a seated position. And that is it. Another Mobility Fit over and done with. We are finished for today. Thank you for joining me, and I will hopefully see you in the next one very soon. So keep moving, keep happy, and I'll see you soon. Bye.